A new study found that students would need at least 4 more months of instruction in reading and math just to catch up to pre-pandemic levels. Yikes. Terry Schilling is the president of the American Principals Project. He joins me now. Great to see you this morning, Terry. Who do you blame for this? Is it the teachers' unions shutting down schools? Is that the reason for this huge lapse in learning?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Ashley, and I completely agree with that. If you look at the numbers, $200 million a year, that's what the American Federation of Teachers spends every year advocating and lobbying legislators to increase their spending. And meanwhile, they're pushing parents out of the way. Now, listen, the good news is that these kids that are failing and illiterate and unable to do math, they're going to make a great part and they would fit in very well with the Biden administration. The bad news is they're going to have a hard time cutting it anywhere else. This is a 5-alarm fire, and we need all the help we can get. These teachers should not be cutting out parents. They should be bringing them into the fold. They need all the help they can get.
Don't forget they were called domestic terrorists when they started speaking out in the middle of the pandemic. But I digress. I want to move on. You pulled your 6 children from public school in Fairfax County, Virginia. Since you've done that, have you seen their learning improve?
Infinitely. And on top of that, not only are they brighter and smarter, they're asking more questions. They're more curious. They have more friends. It's a healthy environment. They're happier children. Look, in Fairfax County, Virginia, where we live, they spend $19,000 per year per pupil in the public school system, and only 32% of 4th graders can read at grade level. That is a complete and utter failure, and so there needs to be real consequences to these people, and we're going to need the federal government to come in and take care of these people because they're just failing us across the board.
They are, you're right. But I want to get to this one, Terry. Americans' confidence, apparently, in higher education just fell to just 36%. That's from 57% back in 2015. What do you think's to blame for that downtrend?
Look, I think it's having conversations and knowing kids with college degrees now. They're arrogant. They know much less than previous generations do. I have a father-in-law. He graduated 8th grade, and he is way smarter than even kids with master's degrees today, right? And so there's this arrogance. There's this lack of knowledge. They just go there to get indoctrinated and to get a certificate so they can get a good-paying job. The problem is that that's not even working out anymore. People don't get good jobs after school. They can't pay off their student loans. So it's a disaster. And the American people are smart. They're seeing this for what it is, regardless of what the corporate media and CNN and MSNBC and everyone says about it.
You're right. I want to get back to this issue of, do you think we've reached the tipping point now, Terry, that parents are feeling emboldened? They've seen what happened during the pandemic. They're not happy with what public schools are providing, and they're going to be heard. You're a prime example of this, but do you think it's a momentum that's building across the country?
Well, Ashley, I think the momentum is there. I think that there's a movement ripe for the taking. But what they need is they need political leaders that will champion them. They need political leaders that will pass laws and change policies that will empower them and fix the education system. And that's going to be determined largely in the 2024 election with President Trump and Ron DeSantis and this huge debate that's going on. We need them to champion these parents and lead this movement.
Yep, you're right. It happens at the ballot box. Terry, thank you so much for joining us. Great discussion. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashley.